If you drive a car built before 2023, you might be noticing a sudden, unexplained drop in your mileage, a sluggish pickup when you press the gas, or a rough rattling noise coming from the engine block. Legacy engines are struggling to process E20 Petrol, a blend containing 20% ethanol, introduced long after these internal fuel systems were designed. This chart shows the energy density of pure petrol compared to an E20 blend. Notice the stark drop on the right. Ethanol contains about 30% less energy than pure petrol. When you mix 20% of it into the fuel supply, the engine must burn significantly more fluid to generate the same amount of power. We are going to build a step-by-step E20 shield. I will show you how to stop internal corrosion, prevent the chemical separation of your fuel, and restore that lost mileage. Leaving a legacy engine unprotected against this new blend risks permanent damage to fuel lines and internal seals, eventually leading to a total engine seizure. Step 1 is building a chemical defense. The easiest immediate change is switching your regular fill-up to a 95-octane premium fuel at high-traffic, company-owned stations. There is a common myth that premium fuel is ethanol-free. It isn't. The real benefit is the higher octane rating, which smooths out the combustion cycle and eliminates the violent engine knocking that E20 often triggers in older cars. Sourcing this fuel from busy, high-traffic stations ensures the underground tanks cycle rapidly. Fuel that sits stagnant absorbs moisture, so a busy pump guarantees you are buying fresh, dry petrol. To reinforce the fuel itself, you need to add an aftermarket ethanol fuel treatment directly into your gas tank every 3 to 4 fill-ups. The additive physically coats the interior of your aging rubber seals and plastic fuel lines. This creates a barrier that repels the jagged, solvent-like ethanol molecules before they can eat into the material. Combining high-octane fuel with a targeted chemical additive patches the vulnerability in your legacy hardware, allowing older rubber and plastic to handle modern fuel chemistry safely. The second layer of your defense is physical management of the tank itself. The hard rule is simple: never let your fuel gauge drop below the halfway mark. Empty space inside a gas tank holds air, and air holds moisture. When you run a low tank with E20 fuel, you trigger a highly destructive chemical chain reaction, known as phase separation. In a half-empty tank, ethanol acts like a sponge, pulling moisture from trapped air to form water droplets. These droplets bind with ethanol and sink to the bottom. If the fuel pump sucks in this corrosive sludge, it will seize the engine. Because ethanol acts as an aggressive solvent, it also breaks down years of pre-existing grime inside your tank. To catch this loose debris before it enters the engine, you must replace your fuel filter every 10,000 kilometers. Keeping the tank full eliminates the trapped air that causes condensation, and swapping the filter early catches the dissolved rust. Together, these two steps physically starve phase separation before it starts. With the chemical and physical defenses in place, you must adjust how you operate the vehicle to account for the lower energy density of E20. You need to adopt a light-footed driving technique. This means smoothly rolling onto the accelerator to build speed, rather than suddenly mashing the pedal. When you accelerate aggressively, the legacy engine control unit recognizes the lack of power and compensates by blindly dumping excess fuel into the combustion chamber. That is exactly why your mileage plummets under E20. You also need to shift gears slightly later in the rev range, ideally between 2,000 and 2,500 RPM. Letting the engine spin a little faster before upshifting prevents lugging and eliminates knocking. Increasing your tire pressure by 1 to 2 psi reduces rolling resistance, helping to claw back a fraction of the efficiency loss to ethanol's lower energy density. Since the fuel mathematically delivers less raw power, you have to extract more efficiency out of the car through precise, deliberate driving habits. If your car was built before 2022 and you want to bypass the ethanol problem entirely, installing a sequential CNG kit is the most effective solution. This flowchart outlines exactly when the installation cost makes mathematical sense. If your daily commute exceeds 30 kilometers and you plan to keep the car for at least 3 to 5 more years, the return on investment justifies the conversion. CNG is a completely dry gas. Running your engine on it makes phase separation, moisture absorption, and plastic line corrosion physically impossible. It also cuts your daily running costs in half, helping to mitigate the financial penalty of E20's poor fuel mileage. However, you will still need to keep 10 to 15 liters of premium additive-treated petrol in the tank. The car requires this small reserve solely to perform safe cold starts in the morning before switching over to gas. By converting to CNG, you relegate E20 from a daily, destructive liability into a minor utility used for just a few minutes a day. By stacking chemical additives, rigorous physical maintenance, and updated operational habits, you establish a solid defense for your legacy vehicle. The engine stops shaking, the internal seals remain intact, and your acceleration returns to a smooth, predictable rhythm. Your first step today is to check your car's service history. If you have driven more than 10,000 kilometers on your current fuel filter, book an appointment to get it swapped. At your next trip to the gas station, pull up to the 95-octane pump and make sure you have a bottle of ethanol fuel protector ready to pour. Older cars are fully capable of surviving the E20 transition. Just understand the chemistry, adapt your maintenance, and drive with precision.